Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November meeting of the Lens Neighborhood Livability Association. Start off, I'd like to ask everyone who has cell phones to silence them, so we are not interrupted.
But the president might call.
If you put it on vibrate, if it's really important, you can leave the room and take that call from your dog or your cat. So for announcements, West will be cleaning at West Rock Saturday, November 16th, 23rd, and 30th at 8 a.m. at 9935 Southeast Woodstock, subject to change due to weather, of course.
What's that court?
Due to weather, what?
What's that court?
Woodstock Court.
Why would the alarm clock goes off for that?
You know, there are so many Woodstocks down there.
Yes.
It's a great big building, it's kind of hard to miss.
It's true. It has got garbage.
And then we have the VFW monthly breakfast, November 17th at 9 a.m. at the American Legion Hall. And that's at 8329 Southeast 89. And then Tuesday, November 26th, we're going to be packing boxes for our 50 Thanksgiving dinners that we're delivering also on Tuesday. And we'll meet here in the coffee house, this where we're assembling. We're picking up the turkeys at about 10 o'clock and then put the boxes together and we'll head out from there. Tonight our guest speakers are Sharon from the PTA. Yeah. I'm not going to try that. From the PTA Clothes Closet. And we have Jackie Duvall, PTA Student Aid. And
Hank isn't here, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, baby.
And then Tashia Hager is our Portland Police Bureau Commander of the East Precinct. And we're ready to go ahead and get started. Sharon, you can take over. And if anyone has questions, you know, take your turn. Let's not all talk at once and try not to interrupt the speaker. Thank you.
Okay, well, I brought some brochures, so I'll pass those around. Here, and then just pass those around. If you choose not to save them, we can just put them back on the table. So my name is Sharon May Chang, and I'm the director of the PTA Clothing Center. We have started the clothing center. It started in 1964. Serves Portland Public School students. We serve about 1,500 to 2,000 students every school year. When the kids come, they get new clothes as well as old clothes. But what started the clothing center is in 1964, there were two boys who they would come to school every other day. And the principal was like, hey, why is one here and the other's not here? Okay, I can get if they had a cold, but it's a consistent pattern. So then the principal called up their dad and said, you know, I've noticed that the boys aren't here on the same day. You know, is there something going on in the family, something that we can help with? And the dad said to him in near tears, we only have one pair of shoes that the boys have to share. Wow. So at that point, the principal talked to the superintendent, and then they asked, is there any way the Portland Council can provide for students in need so that they can go to school just as their peers, dressed as their peers? So that's how we started. So we have, it's all volunteer run. Myself as director, I'm also a volunteer. We get our donations from individuals. We get them from the PTAs and the schools. They send us gently worn clothing, as well as holding drives for new socks and underwear, jeans, warm coats, hats and gloves for the winter times, especially when it's really super cold outside. We really like that. We also have some corporations that give us donations. We've had donations from Columbia Sportswear, from Nike, from Hannah Anderson. We recently have partnered with Assistant League of Greater Portland, and they give us a donation of their buying power for their Operation School Bell. So the last 2 years it was $5,000, and then this year it's $15,000. Wow. So when they go do their buying, they buy for the clothing center, and they purchase socks, jeans, underwear, and shirts. And shirts is something that we've never been able to have the funding to provide that, so it's a really nice partnership. We also have had donations from Keen Shoes, where they've given us sandals and shoes and boots, and that's always nice, especially in the winter months. We are all volunteer run, so if anybody has time, we'd love to have you come over. We're over at Marshall High School campus. We've been there for about 14 years. Prior to that, we were at the Child Service Center over off of Southeast Stripe and 14th. So we're happy to be, close in where the kids need us. It's not central, but it works for us. And we just enjoy helping kids. So if you know of kids in the community that need clothes for school, send them our way. They just go to their school, Portland Public School, get an application, and then come visit us either Monday or Thursday, school days. So when school's in session, we're in session. And the hours for the kids are 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Shar is one of our excellent volunteers. So if you have questions about volunteering and what that looks like, Shar can help you with that. But basically what the volunteers do is they are basically shopping with the student or with the parents, helping them find, jeans and shorts, or if they need school uniforms, they help them with that. And the other big piece is sorting all the donations that we get. So making sure there's no rips, no stains, no tears, make sure the zippers work, make sure there's nothing inappropriate for beer, alcohol, vaping. I hate school stuff. None of that.
Sharon, I have to share, the last day I was there, the most unusual thing I've ever seen were the stripper pants.
Oh, that's
The ones that
right.
It was a Halloween costume.
No, they were on the shelf. They were ready to be.
Yeah, we never know what comes in, as Shar can attest. But I'll tell you this though, we do not subscribe to the Better This Than Nothing Club. We want things to fit our kids. We want them to be age appropriate. We want them to be in the best of the best condition, because we know that sometimes they'll share it with siblings and cousins, and we want them to feel good about what they're wearing. So those pants immediately went to a different organization. Maybe a Halloween costume or something. So we also do collect some stuffed animals and children's books that we give out to the kids. All these good get books into the kids' hands. So
Stripper pants, the kind that
Yeah.
rip off,
the snaps that pull off and stuff. Yeah, so if you
How would you know what those are?
I don't know.
That was a good guess. Yeah.
Don't know about this
So-
from you.
So just some about the DSW thing? Yeah. Okay, so another partnership that we have, this is the first time, DSW Shoes, which I think stands for Designer Shoe Warehouse. They have a program that's called Soul to Souls. Souls for Souls shoe giveaway. So this Saturday at Harriet Tubman Middle School, which is over on North Flint, they're going to have a shoe giveaway from 10 o'clock to noon. And the sizes of shoes are 11 children's to size 7 adults. There's about 300 pairs. So if you know kids that need shoes that are Portland Public School kids and need, send them that way. There's no sign up for it. They don't have to have an application from the clothing center. First come, first serve till they're gone in that size. And then whatever's left over will go to the clothing center. So that's exciting.
Tell me about the application. What's that about?
So the application that we have, it's all the school secretaries and counselors and the principals have for our application forms. So when the kid, if there's a student that you know, or if you have grandparents who are raising grandkids and need help, somebody who's got a foster child that needs some extra help with clothing, they just need to go to their PPS school and get a clothing center application and then come see us. It's not based on free and reduced lunch, it's based on need. So.
And it's amazing how many people do not know about you.
I know, so I'm so thankful that you were having Jack and I here and the Sunshine Division
I know my kids are going and gone.
to share about that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And I do want to say, when I went and volunteered and helped the kids pick out their clothes. I was so impressed with this one little girl because it sent me back to the 60s. She got the tall boots, the short skirt.
Full ensemble.
Yeah, the whole ensemble.
So the other piece is that the kids do get new clothing. So when PTAs or private individuals give us donations, we buy socks, jeans, underwear, bras, and we also buy coats for the kids. So that helps out. And Project Lemonade has donated some of their extra coats for the clothing.
Yeah, a lot of your
center.
coats are like new anyway because the kids grow so fast.
Exactly. And we have what we call our shoe angel. Our shoe angel is Jean. Her kids graduated from Lincoln High School, but she has provided shoes for the last 5 to 7 years out of her own personal money. So each of the 1,500 kids that we had last year got a pair of shoes, and all from Jean.
Cool.
So she doesn't like to be recognized, but I like to share that we do have shoe angels that come by and help us. And she takes the shoes that we have that are soiled, takes them home, washes them, scrubs them up, puts new laces on them, and makes them shine and brings them back. So truly our shoe angel for the kids. There's a spot for everybody.
So are you set up to accept monetary contributions?
Yes, we're a 501c3. So yes, definitely. And we provide tax receipts for people who wish to have them. Yeah. Always use extra cash, always. And I'm the shopper, and I will say that I can claim the title of Susie Smart Shopper because I stretch every dollar that we get. So when stuff's on sale, I'll buy in quantity and then wait to be reimbursed so that we get the best deal for our money. So we stretch every dollar that people give us.
Fabulous.
Okay, so we're a little ahead of schedule, but you can take over now,
Okay.
Jackie.
So I'm Jackie Duvall. I'm the Student Aid Director for the Portland Council PTA Student Aid Fund. The Student Aid Fund was set up in 1923 by Elizabeth Hager. And when she started this fund, she wanted it to be where, because back in the day students had to buy their textbooks and students could not afford textbooks. So this was a loan program where they would loan money for the textbooks and the students were supposed to pay it back, but they soon realized that just the students couldn't, the families couldn't pay it back. So they kind of switched it over to the Student Aid Fund. And basically, this day and age, what happens now is we are able to provide eyeglasses. Typically, I have partnered with America's Best, and so for the $100 that I get to spend on each student per year, I'm able to get them an exam and 2 pairs of glasses and a couple of cases for that $100. So they'll get that, they can get that, they can get clothing. If they've gone to the clothing center and they cannot be fitted, then I will get a referral card from Sharon, and I'm able to go purchase gift cards for different stores so they can go buy the clothes that will fit them. We also do like a one-time emergency bus pass. It's something that we don't really do on a regular basis, but we do, provide them with that. And we also have provided coats and things like that. But in these last recent years, Sharon and I have partnered together and decided that just giving them a coat is not providing a service for them, that they could go to the clothing center and get the full service. So I will shop with Sharon, we will buy coats, we will stock the clothing center, and they'll be able to go and get the new socks, new underwear, and all of that along with a new coat. We have a great partnership. My son used to work for Columbia Sportswear, and he has since left. He's a police officer in Lake Oswego now. But his fiance works there, and Sharon is on her list, so we're able to go and use that employee benefit to purchase these coats. So it's pretty amazing how far we can stretch $1 by just saying, hey, we'll take all those coats off the rack, and they'll be like, sure, here's 20% off more. So it's a benefit for both, because we do give them recognition, and they do give us great deals. We have in the past, there have been students that needed just simple things like hearing aid batteries, and their parents could not afford them. So we've provided those sorts of things. So the trust fund has been around since 1923. We don't touch the principal, we draw on the interest, and the rest of our funds come from schools, PTAs, community members, community organizations, and businesses. So we, as Sharon, as the clothing center, we do run off of donations as well. We are Portland Council. Our programs are both a part of that, and so we're both under the 501c3. And I have to say that I've been on Portland Council for about 22, 23 years, and I know Sharon's been there longer, but Sharon has been the clothing center director for over 30 years?
No,
Not yet? I can't remember. It's been a long time.
I've not been the director. I think I've been the director maybe 20 years.
20 years.
But I started helping at the clothing center in some capacity when my daughter was in kindergarten, and that was 1986. So my kids went to Stevenson and Jackson and Wilson. So I would take home the lost and found, wash it, mend stuff, scrub up the shoes like Jean does and stuff, and then bring them to the clothing center, help kids for a little bit, and then get back to pick up my kindergartners. So that's how I started it, and that is my give back for myself and my family, to be able to give back to the community and share our blessings.
And so that's how I met Sharon, and that's how I got involved. And probably 10 years ago, I became the director. I was trying to do the math, and it's, it all runs together. So, been doing this for a while, and again, we're all volunteers, and it's just something that we have this passion that even though our children are grown and out of school, it's still important to be involved and give back and make a difference in a child's life. My motto and the PTA motto is making every child's potential a reality, and that starts with making sure that they have the tools that they need to go to school and feel like they're equal to the others, and that starts with clothing, with shoes, with a jacket, a backpack. So I think that's why Sharon and I are both so passionate about this, is that we're really putting them, setting them up for success by making sure that they have the adequate clothing and things that they need. So that's in a nutshell.
So Jackie, I have a quick question. You said you sometimes provide emergency bus passes?
Yes.
Does the TriMet not do that anymore for school-age children?
They do high school. So, and typically sometimes we'll have a student come into the district and it's mid-month and they're not going to get a bus pass till the next month.
Oh, okay.
So we're able to provide them with that to get them started.
So TriMet only does it for high school kids then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's been maybe 5 to 7 years that TriMet has paired with Portland Public Schools in the city of Portland to provide bus passes.
Okay.
It used to be that PPS students in high school had no bus service. So it was very fortunate for them to do that. And back in the day, we would do a lot more of the bus passes for families who just did not have the bus money to get their kid to school and couldn't drive them to school because they had to get to work. So it's been a blessing that it's now back on the back of their ID card that they have a TriMet bus pass.
Yeah, and I thought at one point they talked about discontinuing that. Was that like last year?
Thankfully they haven't.
They haven't yet.
Thankfully they haven't.
For us at the clothing center, the students are limited to $100 a year. They can visit the clothing center twice a year. Typically, it's before school-ish area.
Before winter break and then after winter break.
Yeah, they can go back. So we do let them come back, and then they can use the services up to $100. We have gone over exceptions for students that needed clothing that was extremely expensive or what have you, but that's on a case by case. But typically, it's about $100 a year.
Are they still thinking maybe about doing uniforms in Portland Public Schools or no?
We have about 4 schools that do have uniforms. So when I shop at Goodwill, school starts in August, kids are getting stuff in September. After that, Target sends a lot of their stuff that they don't sell to the Goodwills. So I will go in and pick up brand new school uniforms for $1.99. So I just basically go in and take them and stuff. And then we have stuff at the clothing center for the kids that do need uniforms. And if we get an abundance of it, I will pass it on to the schools so that they have some extras at their school. But yeah, there's about 4 that have that.
I think it's a great idea, that way nobody really gets picked on, you know.
Right.
Your pants are too short. Well, this is a
Yeah,
skirt,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And have you ever worked with the Needy Kids Fund for glasses and hearing aids for kids?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's a good program too. They take a lot of donations from, I think, November till about the second week of December, something like that. And they can make a ton of money for the Needy Kids Fund for eyes, for glasses and
Nice,
hearing aids.
That's nice, yeah, no, we haven't worked with them.
Just a thought.
Okay. We'll turn it over to you, Tasha.
Skipping right to me.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to talk to Hank, he didn't show up.
Because he did, I
Yes.
sent him a text to see if he was
Thank
coming.
you.
I haven't heard back, and
Uh-huh.
I'd like to say I know enough about the Sunshine Division to cover it, but Hank is he's way more well-informed than I am, so I'm not gonna even try to do that.
Well, he came to our last meeting when Turner came, Daryl Turner came, and I talked to him, he said, I'm so excited to come in next month and present with the PTA Clothes Closet, and I said, well,
Yeah,
Something
I don't know. I'm not really sure. It could be something that's going on out there that's keeping him from coming, so.
He might have found
I
those
have my
stripper
radio now,
pants.
so I'm not sure. So, hi, my name's Tasha, for those of you that I have not met. I am the commander of East Precinct. I've been there less than a year. It's about February. I think I've been there since February. I am a 25-year veteran of the Portland Police Bureau. I've been there for 25 years, and I've been to numerous places in the Police Bureau and at all different ranks, which I'm happy to go into that if you want to hear about it. But what I'm trying to do as the commander of East Precinct is make it around to all the neighborhood associations and kind of talk to each group about where the police bureau is and where specifically East Precinct is and the officers that work there. And I know many of the neighborhood associations are used to seeing or in the past have had a regular officer attend their meetings, and they haven't been seeing them lately. I hear that a lot. So I'm trying to get kind of pass that torch to the lieutenants and the captain and myself, simply because our officers have a significant amount of work. So just to give you an idea of where the police bureau sits, we're somewhere above 100. It's been up to 130. I don't have the exact number because I was on vacation. I've been trying to catch up all week, and I didn't look at our last staffing report to see how many officers short we are. But we've been between 100 and 130 officers short consistently. And for a department that's only 1,000 strong, that's putting us at over a 10% reduction bureau-wide. That's a pretty large reduction. And we're looking at seeing those numbers go down in this next year. Between August and January of next year, we could see another reduction of maybe 50. That's a complete guess. Nobody really knows how many people are going to lose in retirement. So how that's really impacting you guys, aside from not seeing your police officer here, is it is impacting our timeliness for service. We've done some staffing. We've had our strategic services look at staffing. And right now, I am barely staffed enough for officers to they're not even keeping their head above water in answering radio calls. They maybe have a straw that they're breathing through the top of the water just to answer radio calls. So when it comes to much of the proactive police work that we've done in the past, there's just not a lot of officer time left to do much of that. My hope is right now we still have our NERT team, and when I got here I started a street crimes team, mostly to do some of that self-initiated work that needed to be done, and they've had some significant successes. They've taken some large quantities of drugs off the street and a whole bunch of guns off the street, and they're working very hard, but they're a very small group. and they too have way more work than they can possibly keep up with. So one of the questions that I often get when I come out, as I've been talking to different groups, is what can we do to help? And I think the one thing that I would ask from the citizens in Portland is to be patient with the police, especially the police officer who is coming out to take your call, and to share that message with your friends. And I absolutely understand that when you come out and you find that somebody broke into your car overnight and you call the police and you want to file a police report and you may have to wait 4 hours, that is not something, well, that can be reported online, by the way.
Right.
There's a lot of things that can be reported online, and if it can be, I highly recommend doing it. But for other things, when you have to wait for an extended amount of time for a police officer to show up, and that officer shows up, it is not their fault. And they take a huge amount of pride in the work that they do, and they are really, really, really struggling to give you the service they think that you deserve, but they just don't have the staffing. We haven't staffed them adequately to give you that service. So they're really struggling with that, and sometimes they take some heat from the public on that when they're coming out to calls. So that would be what I would tell you. My ask is to you, if you in the different groups you belong to, is to really make sure people understand that those officers are trying their best to get out and provide you the service. They just don't have the time that they used to do that. As far as crime that's happening in East, crime, we collect crime data, and I've talked about this in the past too. Our data is largely unreported crime. So I always caution people we have an open data source. You can get on our website and look at crime data in your neighborhoods. That crime data is coming from reported crime, and so I do caution people when they look at that not to draw too many conclusions, simply because there is crime that goes unreported. I will tell you, I live in Portland. I've been a victim of a property crime, and I did not report it to the Portland Police Bureau. I should have. I would encourage everybody to report every crime. So I'm not telling you to behave like me. I didn't take the time to get online and report it, and it was a minor property crime, so it didn't have an impact on me. But without appropriate crime numbers, crime data numbers, if we don't know what's happening, we can't actually address the problem. So when people don't report crime, and there's a variety of reasons that people don't report crime, whether they just don't think it's going to do any good. East Precinct, probably one of the most diverse precincts of the 3 precincts. We're now down to 3 precincts. Historically, we used to have 5 precincts. We used to have Southeast Precinct, which was over at 47 in Burnside. That precinct no longer exists. And we used to have North Precinct, which was up in St. John's. That precinct also no longer exists. So those officers were pushed into the precincts. All those people trying to give service to a larger area. I think East Precinct is about 36 square miles with a population of about 225,000. And right now I have about 125 officers that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to provide service to that number of people. So the reported crime, it's a challenge if people don't report crime, and in some of the groups that I talk to, especially in more diverse groups, is to encourage people that you don't always have to talk to the police. Some of our immigrant communities, for very good reason, are skeptical of their contact with the police, but that doesn't mean that they can't still report crime when it happens to them. So if you're involved with any of those communities, please encourage them to report their crimes, because we need that data.
When a homeowner or a citizen calls 911 as a non-emergency number, do the call takers suggest they go online?
They will if it's something that can be reported online. And it may be something, eventually we may have to actually make that with some exceptions, a requirement if it can't be reported online. People want to see this. The problem is that wanting to have an officer come take a report from you is not always the best use of that officer's time.
That's what I was
But they
wondering.
do encourage them, but at this point, if somebody demands that a police officer come, we will set that call up for service. Yes, ma'am.
I understand you're going to have some social workers working with police officers, going out and helping with some of the more mentally challenged.
So, one of the hats I wore, we are, but we already have. We have for a long time, actually.
It was in the news, I think, today.
Yeah, one of the hats I wore before I was promoted to captain was I was the lieutenant of the behavioral health unit. I believe that unit started in 2014. So since 2014, that unit's been around. And it's grown since I left it, but at the time I was there, we had 3 police officers who were, each one of them had a partner, and their partner was a social worker contracted through Cascadia. And their primary role was to proactively deal with people in our community who are really struggling with mental health. And specifically people in the community dealing with mental health that were having an impact where they were using police resources at a high rate to try to get them into services. They've been extremely successful. The behavioral health unit also houses the service coordination team, which that's been around for 20-some years, and that is focused on drug and alcohol addiction. It's a voluntary program. It's funded by the city of Portland, and people that go into that program, typically it lasts for, somebody can be in that program for up to 2 years, and then they can get services for a year after that, I think is the length of time. But that's a pretty big deal. When they have a graduation for the service coordination team, they have it at City Hall. So it's a very successful program, and it's treatment and housing. So that's where, and then it works past that once you get solid in your sobriety and the housing. It's a good program.
Do you know if that's what this house up here is? There's a house right on 105th here.
I don't.
Okay.
I know that program uses many different resources when it comes to initially it's just within their area.
Oh, okay.
But or their facilities, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually it moves to someone can get into sober housing, so they might stay at
I
like an
think that's what
Oxford
this
house
is,
or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Is it possible to get more people on board with that program, more social workers, and that would help with, not they're not the policemen, but you would have like the other policemen that usually there's 2 of them that go out, so.
So they added another team, so now there's 4 teams. I think, is it possible, some of it comes down to financing, money. The mental health and mental health services is really generally been housed under the county. It's the county, that's the county's responsibility. But for the police bureau, we recognize that the mental health system was failing
Big time.
a long time ago. And so, part of that unit was created as a result of the agreement we made with the Department of Justice. But it was a long time coming, and it was a unit actually that many of us had already been discussing. I do know that the city is looking at doing funding another program that will partner social workers, I believe, with like a fire medic. So that program I think will be run either through the city or through the fire bureau, it won't have, it's not a police program.
Is that the navigation team, or is that something
I
separate?
think the navigation team is something separate, because the
Okay.
navigation team is already out there.
Right.
Um,
Do they go out by themselves? I mean, do they have an officer with them, or do they go out by themselves?
I think they go out by themselves, yeah.
They go in groups.
They go in groups,
Okay.
yeah.
In the jungle,
Yeah.
we went in threes.
I was gonna say, I would go in groups.
Yeah. You know, I mean, part of the challenge, you know, going back to my time in the behavioral health unit is there, at the time that we started BHU in working with all the services that we were working with, we were the only people really doing outreach, like actually going out into the community and contacting people who were struggling and trying to get them into services, instead of just saying, hello, here's an appointment for you, please come see us, this is our building, and then hoping that this person was going to make it to an appointment.
We had a woman living on Knapp, right down here, for probably close to 2 years. And I saw you guys out there working with her, trying to get her into housing.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't go into Cascadia. She refused to go there.
Yeah,
And I think they finally got over in a place on Sunnyside.
yeah.
But I think it was like close to 2 years.
Yeah, and that's what the BHU teams will, they're called the behavioral health response teams. They will spend significant time trying to work with someone. You know, part of it is really is a trust building thing too. I mean, that's why it takes so long. You have to build trust.
Yeah.
You know, somebody isn't just going to believe you because you show up and say, here, I want
Here
to
to
help
help
you.
you. I'm from the government, yeah.
Right, right, you have to build trust. So they spend a significant amount of time taking people coffee or doing things to kind of try to build that trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you had your hand up.
I recently went on a ride-along, and I highly recommend everybody do it. It is so interesting, and you see it from the computer screen, you see these calls come up, and they are color-coded, so they know if it's been responded to or if it's really urgent, but it's so well worth your time. I was with an officer for 6 hours.
Did you get to carry a gun?
No, I didn't, but the very first thing, before we ever left the garage, he said, now this is what we use for less than lethal. Okay, and I said, can I touch it? I wasn't going to touch anything in a police car, I'll tell you. And it was about so big, and it was just slightly squishy, and I thought, man, that would hurt. And then the next instruction I had was, if we get in a situation and you need to call for help, you use this phone. I don't think I signed up for that part, but it was really, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So you need to read the small print.
Yeah.
Does Multnomah County have any responsibilities with these kinds of things? I never see them anymore.
You know, I think some of the challenge right now is that you have 3 different governmental systems that are all involved. You have the state, the county, and the city. Historically, when it comes to social services, that has been a county function. You know, having our city and county leaders try to work together I don't, that's not an arena I play in, so I don't know how well that is or is not working. You know, you know, just in looking back, and my best experience really is coming from BHU, and I would say, you know, we as a community have to require some accountability from the leadership and from the organizations that have been tasked with providing the services that they say they're going to provide.
Yeah.
You know, if these fine women came up here and said, hey, please donate clothes, and then you found out that they weren't really giving kids any clothes, you probably stop giving them clothes.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I think that there is some challenges there. I found that to be challenging for me, being in law enforcement, that there was a huge amount of scrutiny on what we were doing, and a huge amount of requirement to be transparent, but in trying to get information, to try to figure out, okay, so I convinced our police officers, and if you look, I would guess this still holds true. We take people who are in crisis to the hospital 100 times more than we did 5 years ago, and probably even a higher percentage than we did 10 years ago. I'll tell you, when I was a young police officer, we didn't take anybody to mental health services because usually they were involved in some sort of activity that I could take them to jail, so that's where they went.
Yeah.
That has really changed, but it only helps if once we get them to the hospital, they get the help they need. But to try to find out from the hospital, okay, so we bring you 100 people that all needed help. How many of those 100 people did you help?
They can't tell you.
I can't get that information. So I have no idea if the change we made is having an impact, a positive impact on the group of people we're trying to positively impact. You know, is taking them to the hospital versus taking them to jail, getting them the help that they need. And so that piece of it, when I was doing my job, I found to be frustrating. That existed in all the systems, the nonprofits that I dealt with, where I couldn't, there's no getting data back. It was really just about providing data. So sometimes
they're just out giving summonses and evicting people and wearing uniforms.
Yeah, I did run across a few pretty frustrating independent situations occasionally that quite honestly, they broke my heart. So, yeah.
How is Ryan Mealy doing?
He is still recovering. He's not back to work yet.
Okay.
So that was a nasty accident.
Oh, I know.
I think last I heard he was still having problems with one of his wrists. So, and he's young enough that we want him to get that right. So, yeah.
Where do you stand on the body cams? I know over 50% of law enforcement in America have them. I know it's expensive to store the data, that is a big problem, but if all these other cities can do it, why can't Portland?
So we're still working on the body camera. My opinion, I think it's a hugely positive thing. I think most police officers welcome body cameras at this point. There are cameras everywhere. So we tell our officers, when you're going out to work, you need to behave and conduct yourself as if you're always on camera. I know I'm on camera right now. But you're always on camera. That's an assumption you have to make in this society. I think that the officers understand that if they were wearing a camera, that their perspective would be better represented. It's not just the cost of the camera, the cost of the storage, it's also the cost of the public records requests and how we're going to manage getting, that's another hiring people to be able to honor those requests, which we're required to do. So there's a lot that goes into that process, and they're still working on it. I believe that they're looking at a pilot. I keep hearing there's going to be a pilot.
Yeah, we had them out there, last year. When was it?
We were still a number of months.
Yeah, it was a long time ago we had them out here.
Yeah. I think the police bureau is still moving that direction. So I think that it's just a slow process.
And I think the public records issue was a huge issue when they were out.
Yeah,
it was more than anything else. It was
Right.
That's
what do we do
expensive
now?
or more than the cameras and the storage.
Yeah, right, because you need people. I
Right.
mean, that requires.
And they're
that-
already behind.
Yeah, and our
Yeah.
records division already can't keep up.
Right.
Right. So,
I have a question.
yes.
How can we best advocate for more police?
I think that decision is made by city council. So it really is a city council decision. I know, how many people made it to the Lentz Town Hall meeting that the mayor was at last week? I was out of town, so I missed that. the mayor advocated and got, I think, 50 additional positions for us maybe 2 years ago. That's a total guess. But he did get us 50 more positions, and I know he said in that meeting he had asked for 100. And I believe that he would continue to ask for more. The challenge right now, and from fiscal, if I'm sitting and looking at this from the community perspective, we can't fill our empty positions that are already empty. So you could go say, hey, we all think you should have, to be right-sized, just to get to, we need 130 police officers just to hit our current staffing levels. I would say we need another 300 to 400 to be right-sized for a city our size, to be a police department that is appropriately staffed to serve the Portland area. We are consistently 300, or somewhere in the range of 300 police officers less than the city of Seattle, which is our most comparative city. So, but even if there's no sense in having that conversation right now when we can't even get up to staffing. So I understand why that conversation isn't taking place, but I do think it's a worthy conversation once we are able to get up to full staffing, and that will be something where the mayor it's the way our council is set up. You need 3 votes. Any mayor, commissioner can put forward whatever they want to put forward. They need 3 votes to pass it. So, that would be
the hurdle.
that would be the hurdle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been difficult for,
Yeah.
has it been difficult for finding candidates?
For police.
Officers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the national narrative right now is not a positive one for our profession. It's a really negative one for our profession. And so, which is, makes me kind of sad, because, I work with a lot of honorable people, and we, unlike most professions, it doesn't even have to happen in the city of Portland to have an impact on us. Right. Some video of some cop doing something stupid in Georgia creates a negative backlash on us. So we are one of the professions where that has a hugely negative impact. And I would say people who are really not fans of the police have really latched onto that and have built a really strong narrative that is extremely difficult to get past. So that. And I'm not even sure how to change that. I say in some ways I think we need to behave more like some of the corporations that are out there. Hire some of our own media consultants to really push a media message. But we have tried. We have a Facebook page, we have Twitter, we have a communications unit. We try to push out the positive message. But that's not always what you see getting covered in the media. So
negative.
that is, and then I think the other thing that's having an impact is our economy. So our economy is pretty good right now, and we find that law enforcement is something that gets a bigger draw as as getting jobs gets tougher. More people tend to apply to be police officers. It's kind of been that way. So if we saw our economy
Go for it.
take a dive, we would probably have a larger influx of people applying. So it is an interesting thing, yeah.
Well, I know Daniel Outlaw went out to the college. The college is that down in Warren Pacific on Division, and was doing recruiting.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if she got anything out of that, but
I don't know either. I don't know. But if you look at some of the young people that are out there, if you're 21, 22, you're looking at leaving college and going into work, and you take a look at what law enforcement is getting, what that is, what that looks like right now, and then you look at some of your other options.
Yeah.
Some of your other options are looking pretty good.
yeah, yeah.
Crazy one.
You had a question?
What else can I answer? I know there's got to be more questions.
She covered it.
That's it, guys.
What's the most challenging thing for you guys?
All the graffiti.
What is
Graffiti.
it? Graffiti. Oh, we have a lot of graffiti everywhere. We have a graffiti abatement. Aren't they still around? The graffiti crew?
Yeah,
Sort of.
Because I call and they remove it.
And they remove it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
Under the map where the bus stops and
I was just at the 17th Street underpass, coming home today, and it is a virtual mural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who owns it?
Who owns
Well,
it?
it should be ODOT.
Then the ODOT guy comes out every 2 weeks on a regular route.
Okay.
Occasionally, he'll make an exception.
17th is an
But
ODOT.
the graffiti people don't do that. That's
Okay.
ODOT. They've got their own guy with his beige
Okay,
paint.
all right.
It's knowing who owns the piece of property.
Powell and 17th.
Because Powell was,
TriMet.
No.
No,
Powell's
it's state,
behind.
Powell's
it's
Powell's
a state
highway.
highway, so
Yeah.
it would be
It's
ODOT.
a
Yeah,
dot.
yeah,
Yeah.
ODOT.
Did you have a question or comment?
Well, here's an example of why I don't feel safe leaving my home alone. Number one, I've never been without someone to protect me for 70 years. Till my husband died. So I have an appointment downtown Portland, so I called my daughter, you gotta get me down there because I'm having anxiety thinking about driving down there, walking down the sidewalk by myself. So we're walking, we park and walk down the sidewalk, and the trees, they've all got little limbs snapped off of them. And I thought, well, that's weird, the wind hasn't blown that hard. So we get in front of Multnomah County building on Southwest 4th. And here's this guy on his blue tarp with his pile of rubbish, and he's got a 4-foot-high stack of twigs. Twigs off all these trees he's got collected on the sidewalks. And so we go in for this appointment, we come out, and he had unrolled himself out of his tarp, and he's sitting there on the tarp, and he's got one of these whittled to a point. And he's doing this at us and screaming at us. And I'm afraid if he would have approached my daughter, I may have had to roll him out into traffic.
But she came to protect you.
Yeah, she's my baby.
But they got right there.
So she's my child. But to be out, and so, I mean, had he approached us and used that pointed stick or been able to run fast enough, he couldn't even get off his blue tarp, and I realized that after a while, I had to just keep walking fast. Well, had he been able to get off that tarp and chase us with that pointed stick and actually do something, there's no recourse for him. We just go away with a hole in our butt from his stick.
Another one.
There's no recourse for him, there's no help for him because he doesn't want help. So they leave him on the sidewalk, urine everywhere,
No, you don't have any.
right in front of the door of the Multnomah County building on 4th. Why doesn't somebody move him somewhere?
So I think that that is a piece of probably one of the largest issues that Portland is really dealing with right now, which is the houseless community, and there are we, the police, often find ourselves kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the houseless community, this is, and I've talked about this for quite some time. Houselessness isn't the problem; it's a symptom of the problem.
Right.
People end up houseless because of what the real issues are.
Right.
And until we address those real issues, whether it be mental health or drug and alcohol addiction, or the economy, or housing costs, or job loss, or whatever it is, we are not going to have a successful impact on the houseless issue. The challenge is, at least from my perspective, and I've seen lots of different, we have so many different programs. I couldn't map for you the number of programs that we have out there to help people. I don't know if those programs are working or not working. I don't know how much they cost. I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing out there that really is truly looking at that I can tell. And the other big challenge with that is that it requires us to really do something that we're not really used to, which is to treat people as individuals. to treat people as individuals, you have to become comfortable with treating people differently. The minute you start treating people differently, you start walking a real tightrope.
Yeah.
There's a tightrope there. And if you wear a uniform, that tightrope is really, really tight. So when we are walking a very thin line for us in how we treat individuals. And we take a lot of pressure from the advocacy groups that are trying to help the houseless community. And I want them to. I want them to be successful. Sometimes I'm curious why they haven't been. That is one area where people get super frustrated with us because they call and they want something done. And the reality is that we're not going to we are not going to resolve the houseless issue with the criminal justice system any better than we resolve the mental health issue with the criminal justice system. It won't work. And it won't work because it could work if we were able to just get down to the group of people within the houseless community who are actually the criminals that are really causing the problems. But that's a lot of sorting for a bunch of police officers who are trying to walk on a really fine line. So, I'd like to say I have the answer to that, and I don't. I think that there has to be that the answer and the resolution for that is going to come from the community, and how it decides it wants things done, and then applying pressure to the people who make the decisions about how they're going to do that.
We all already wanted that with Wapato.
Yeah,
That would have been a simple fix.
yeah, that seems to be a pretty. I stand back a little bit confused about that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
We all are. Can we have our money back, please?
Not done yet.
yes, ma'am.
Speaking of the houseless, I'm a volunteer for Fort Kennedy, which is a day center for homeless veterans. And good news, bad news. The good news is that Fort Kennedy has worked with Multnomah and Clackamas counties. They are right now this week starting to house 24 veteran families.
Nice.
The bad news is they're working with Multnomah and Clackamas counties, which have given us virtually no information. We didn't know who was moving in, what their needs were going to be, nothing. But they are working at it. And Fort Kennedy is a great resource. They say a lot of times the police will bring a veteran there instead of going to the hospital. And they try to get them whatever kind of help they need. They try to get them housed. They can go in and get counseling, talk to a lawyer, get something hot to eat, take a shower, get clean clothes, whatever they need. And it is a fantastic organization. Not that far for you guys, so if anybody ever wants to go there and have a tour, I would be happy to take you down there and show you around what they do. It's an amazing place.
What is it called? Fort Kennedy?
Fort Kennedy.
Where's that?
It's on Johnson Creek Boulevard, 7600 Johnson Creek Boulevard.
I brought a brochure home about it. But Donnie didn't need them.
So I'm struggling with a recent homeless situation that I just learned about this week. We do a thing up here called Neighbor to Neighbor, where we try to help a lot of widows in our community. And I was with a group on Saturday, just down the hill here at a lady's house. And we had been told she had got some citations from the city. Saw a lot of garbage out in her front yard, so we assumed that was it. We got it all cleaned up Tuesday, and I reached out to the people at REACH and the people that write the citations, because we've worked with them in the past. And we find out she has a flag lot. And a neighbor, the neighbor that lived next to her flag lot, he was kicked out of his home after multiple months of being the eyesore to the community. He's in his 40s with some kind of mental disability. But the neighbors had complained so long, the city, citation. And eventually they got him evicted from the house, boarded it up. But what did he do? He moved 2 motorhomes into the flag lot right next door. And now it's her problem. And it's horrible what she's going through. And at this point, they're going to do another citation if he's not gone tomorrow. And I'm curious, how does this infer?
Are Mark and Joey
I'm
aware?
working with another guy named William now from the
Oh, yeah?
city of Portland. And he said the citation will go out on Monday if they're not, he's not gone by tomorrow. And I went by today and I cannot see how he's gone by tomorrow.
So they're
I'm
citing her
curious.
because this guy is trespassing on her property and won't leave.
Yes.
They probably think she's connected.
He is very much aware. We talked at length about her situation. He said, she's Chinese, so she really has a language barrier. So I think we were able to explain to her that most likely this will go away once he's gone, but because she's a property owner, she has to get the citation. But when they go, and he'll go to court next, it sounds like, but does the police come out and escort? I'm just frustrated that, how did they even allow, they had to know when they got him evicted and boarded the house out, how did they just let him go next door and not just boot him out of their right of way? Totally frustrating to see how that played out for her.
Yeah, that
Totally
has,
taken advantage of.
there's all sorts of little nuances to what you just talked about that would make it hard for me to sort it out, but I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards. I
Okay.
mean, there's timing, there's residency, there's a lot of different things.
I want to
So,
coach her through what's coming next so I
Yeah.
can help her understand.
does she have an advocate in her community that is helping her with the language barrier at all? Or?
No.
All
She has
right.
a sister that I'm going to get involved next week, but that's about it.
All right.
And I don't even know how long. I just learned about it Tuesday. I thought it was the garbage. It's like, you have a flag lot? And it's like, it's really weird. The guy at City said he's never seen one like this because she has you would never think it bends between two houses and goes to a whole other street that she's right on a major road that she doesn't need that. Anyway, the goal would be to get him off, sell that flag lot to one of those two neighbors.
So
around.
that, I'll talk to you afterwards, so I can think about it. Afterward, the house that he was living in, not her house.
Not her
That
house.
was not her
His
house.
house.
It was his house. And
Uh-huh.
the bank, did the bank take it back and then
All
evict
that I
him?
know is, I don't know the details, if it got foreclosed on or whatever, but the city guy said, we got it boarded up and he's no longer allowed on the property. And then they completely took dumpster after dumpster after dumpster out of the yard, but the house is still full.
Interesting.
But it's just been sold to an investor, so it's going to get cleaned up eventually.
All right, let's talk after.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a puzzle.
Yeah, we have a car on the
Can
map.
of
I
worms.
don't know if it came up now.
Go there.
You go down now, there's a gray car that's been parked there for 4 days now, I think.
Oh, really?
It's been
Overnight. You gotta
tagged,
live
it's
in
been
there.
tagged, it's been tagged.
As a tag? Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
there's a big-
Cindy.
There's a big green tag.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's new.
I didn't see the tag today when we drove by it.
The tag's new or the car's new?
Well, no, I
tags-
reported it, I just,
Yeah, we
I didn't
couldn't
see
report
any,
it.
I didn't see any action.
Mo noticed it was tagged, she said you probably did it.
Well, I probably did.
Yeah.
I
Had something to
reported
do with it.
it. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask for my own package of them.
Are you the green tags?
Oh, Like
Just give me
Post-it
a
notes?
hand, yeah, give me a hundred of them, I'll take care of the triangle. and-
So the answer on that kind of thing, just like the minor property crimes, is report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the only way to get rid of campsites, the only way to get anything done is report. And I'm so tired of hearing, it doesn't do any good, it doesn't do any good.
It does.
It does.
It does do
Yeah.
good, yeah.
They count, and when they reach, and I don't know what the magic number is yet, but Lucas is gonna tell me one of these days.
And when
When
it
they get
does,
to
we'll
100.
post it.
Whatever that magic number is,
Who's she called?
then action happens.
Yes.
And working with the people that I work with in the neighborhood, getting things done, I know for a fact that if they don't have X number of complaints, they are told by the city, it's low impact, go someplace else.
And the only other thing is if we could just convince people that bitching about something on Facebook is not the same as reporting.
Yeah. Well, and then if we could get more businesses involved, that would help too. And there aren't a lot of renters in the triangle, but with the few that I've met, that I'm kind of trying to interact with, none of them care. I'm here, but I don't own property here, so I don't really care that somebody just jumped over the back of my fence and stole my umbrella and dumped my garbage over when they were trying to get out. You might not, but the guy who lives next to you who owns his house is not real happy about that, I'll tell you.
Triplex on my street that always has the dumpsters dumped over.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one of these days. I'm about done with those people.
Question in the back.
Yes.
I just did, in general, the shelter that's being renovated on 92nd, how's that coming?
Portland Family Housing.
Yeah, Portland Family Housing.
Okay.
I was just there Monday,
Uh-huh.
real good. They should be open the 17th of December is their projection.
Okay.
They're gonna do tours the first 2 weeks of December, and I'm trying to get one set up for us up here. So yeah, they're doing really good. If you look at them on Facebook, they're actually showing pictures.
They are.
The inside of it looks really cool.
How many people will they be able to hold?
It's gonna have 14 new families come in. I'm not sure the total, because family can
I thought it
be,
was 26 too.
Yeah. That might include the apartments across the street.
yeah, 14 new families.
Okay. I don't know how the tenants in those apartments are getting in and out of the parking lot, or do they just not
back.
go home?
There's a gate on the far north side of the
Yeah.
building. They go back way.
I was curious.
I don't know.
If it deals with it as anything in camping, it's got to be contact. Not in place. We don't take police responsibility. You're such a nice woman.
So Tasha, do we want to talk about PSAC? That concept at all?
I'd be happy to tell you what I've learned. Central Precinct has a group, they've had a group for a long time, it's the Portland Safety Action Committee.
Public Safety Action Committee, or, well, they've changed the name. They
Did they change
refiled,
the
yeah,
name?
they changed, they refiled.
The group is, I guess I would say it's becoming more active, but it is more of, at least from my understanding, I wasn't able to go to one of their meetings. I was curious to see what it would look like, but I wasn't able to make it this week because I got sent to some training. But I would say it's more of a conglomerate, of citizens and different groups of people coming together to try to really, from the community, I'm gonna say almost like a grassroots movement of how to resolve some of the issues that are happening. I know one of their advisors who was a previous city employee, but he's no longer, he used to work for ONI, which is now Civic Life, had talked to me about that, about PSAC. And so, the one thing I have noticed when I come out to meetings is, aside from coming to, like, there's a couple people, Shar, I've seen you at several places, but most of the time I go to meetings and it's different people in different meetings, but the conversations are always the same. And so, I told Mark, I said, I think it might not be a bad idea if you want to do some community outreach to talk to some of the citizens out here about how do you all get together and try to find some way as a community to really find some influence of resolution. And, understanding that I'm fully committed as the commander of East Precinct to work with, any community group that is engaged in trying to resolve issues that are around public safety in their neighborhoods. So I will fully admit that something a little more centralized around public safety would be somewhat easier for me to make a commitment to, simply because I can't make a commitment to show up at this meeting every single time and every other neighborhood meeting that happens. I simply can't do it. There's one of me and there's numerous neighborhood community meetings. So I don't know what that would look like for you. That has to be a community effort, community driven. I just know that I'm willing to make that commitment for as the commander of East to be present for that.
Yeah, Mark Wells is working with us, and at the town hall, there were some very vocal people who stood up and talked, and he reached out to them. He's trying to bring them into the PSAC because they're business owners. So we need businesses to support this, to have a voice, I really feel. I mean, it's great that neighbors will jump in and help, but we need the money that's in this neighborhood to approach this.
Money talks.
I know, but yeah, to go to the city and get, we have to, 2 months out, we have to go on their agenda, because he's gonna be down there on the 20th, but we're gonna talk about the LNLA. But once we get PSAC sort of situated, what we're doing with it, we're gonna do what the West Side did and get a spot on city council hearing and tell them what we're trying to do. But the idea of the West Side, when we're brought into that one, was to get one started at West Side, get one in North, and get one in East. And then at some point, when we all get together, then we'll all, as a big conglomerate, we'll join together and have a voice. Approach city council, say this is what needs to be done. Because right now, like you said, 3 to 5 or whatever the vote is, the mayor's losing out.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to city council meetings that often. It's not where I prefer to spend my day. But I do know how our city government works, and our city government is unique. It's different than in a lot of different places, and we have a mayor and 4 commissioners, and it takes a vote of 3 to pass whatever resolution it is that you want. So the mayor, I have seen him take a lot of heat from the community at times, and what I like to say is, I don't always agree with him, but the mayor is one man, and he cannot unilaterally change how the city works. He can't do it. He does not have that power. So as a group of citizens, and especially in East Portland, if you want to have a voice, you have to find a way to have that voice, and not just with him, but with all of city council.
Yeah.
So, I highly encourage that.
Well, you'll see us again.
Yes, ma'am.
Because Portland's growing, have they ever thought about expanding it to a 7-member panel? I mean, because I'm from the Bay Area, and we would have city council people in our district, so we knew where to go. I mean, she has this job, he has that job, it's kind of, they all wear many, many hats here. And instead of, I don't know where really who to go to, if you have a...
Well, you don't have somebody to go to. If you want to impress upon any of your elected officials what you think or believe or what you want to see done, you too have to basically impress that on all of them. And if you want to see a change, you have to get at least 3 of them to agree to what that change is that you want to see happen. So Portland is unique in that it doesn't have geographically elected officials. So there is nobody who is elected on city council that was specifically elected to represent the people that live in East.
County commissioners are.
But the county commissioners are,
yes,
they are.
District.
Yes, Commissioner
Jessica Vega
Peterson.
Yeah, she's been out to our meeting.
Yeah.
So we can start with her, Cindy.
Which kind of brings up another point. When we're looking at public safety, Portland is just the front end of it. And a lot of our issues are the back end.
County.
It's county itself.
Yeah, jails.
Lack of jail space.
The sheriff's is still there.
The sheriff's.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen any.
Sheriffs?
Yeah, they're still there.
Sheriffs,
They handle the jail.
yeah, their responsibility is the jail.
Yeah.
Well, they used to patrol at one time.
They
Well,
do,
they do.
they do have they do still do Maywood, Troutdale, Fairview.
They were in the wrong area.
Well, they moved more population out there.
Yeah, they have a couple of specific areas.
Yeah.
But, you know, a large part of East historically was Multnomah County. Portland took that all in. We took the land and the people that were in the land, and we took a whole bunch of deputies who all became Portland police officers, and that was back in the 90s.
So you got a bunch of the county deputies in the
Oh,
Portland
yes, a whole
Police?
bunch of county deputies came over to
Okay.
the Portland Police Bureau.
And
Yeah.
probably a bunch went to Gresham?
I don't know, but I think Gresham's been growing too, you know.
Everybody's been pushed east.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, Mike Reese came to our meeting. He's the sheriff.
yeah.
Well, they go out to Omaha Falls, they
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all the, they have, I would say they have any unincorporated areas.
Rural areas.
But they also do have some city,
Call the county?
you know, they have some, you know.
Like Maywood.
Like Maywood, yes, which I think is probably the smallest geographical and population size that they have. But they did take over Troutdale and I think Fairview, I think, so. Yeah. Any other questions I can answer for anyone? All right. Well, I'll hang out, I'll hang out to the end.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any announcements, any further?
Is everybody aware there's no meeting next month? We're having the
Party.
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 It's a party.
So there's no
We're
regular
meeting, but it's a party.
It's a party.
Really just, not really a lot different than any of our parties.
Any of our parties, that's true.
Or our meetings for that
Our
matter.
meetings, yes.
Just no guest speakers.
Bring food.
Better parking than last year.
Definitely better
Yes,
parking,
definitely better
Stuart.
parking.
Yes, we were kingpins last year and there was no parking. People were driving off and not coming in because there was no parking.
Okay, since we're.
One more announcement.
Speak
The
up.
20th, next week, you are going to be at City Council with your hearing, and we have a community thing that we're going to, where we're going to have a table. Same day. I can send people emails if they're interested. It's going to be,
Send me an email. So I
send you an
can try
email
to-
so you'll remember. Okay, all right, I can do that.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you for joining.